I'm here.
Call meeting of North Reading School Committee to order. I thank my fellow committee members for coming out tonight. We had to go to a little extra effort to get the school open and get the heat on so we could come in here, and Mr. Jervy had to shovel his driveway, and so we would have shoveled it anyway, I guess. But he had to shovel it earlier. So first order of business tonight is public input. If anybody in the audience would like to come up and address any issues in a brief way, any issue you want to bring to the committee's attention, please let us know. Anybody out there? Okay, thanks. Next, our student report, and I see our student is missing. Of course, they had no school today, so we don't have our student report. So let's move right to continued business and school building projects.
Yes, on Friday, last Friday, a group of us from North Reading, including Mr. Webster and Mr. Messeri from the Board of Selectmen, Don Kelleher from the Finance Committee, the Town Administrator Greg Delaconis, James Ward from the School Building Committee, myself, and Charlie Hay, the architect at Hay Associates, on the Bachelor project. Met with representatives of the MSBA in the first step of the review of the Bachelor School project. As the committee knows, North Reading is one of 7 communities identified by MSBA for a project scope review, which is the highest level of review, and hopefully all 7 of those projects will be the first to go through the so-called pipeline of school building reimbursement program. We were there for about 2 hours. I presented an overview of the Bachelor project, actually going back prior to 1994 in terms of the overview of the elementary school building needs with the original school space study committee. And the MSBA was looking for the historical record of all of the decisions leading up to the ultimate final decision to construct an addition and renovation project at the Bachelor School. One of the representatives at this meeting from the MSBA is the MSBA's chief engineer. That individual actually was part of the team that came out to North Reading last summer when they did their facilities audit. And that individual is very aware not only of the Bachelor School, but of the other schools, including the middle school and the high school. So we also went through some discussion about the schematic design of the Bachelor School and about the construction, the overall construction project. What MSBA is doing now, as they go through this project scope review, is to go back in time and make sure that North Reading's decisions and the Bachelor School project, that we are consistent with the new MSBA guidelines. MSBA needs to certify and ultimately recommend to the MSBA board that this project meets all of those standards. And when that is done, when those standards have been documented, then there will be an audit of the finances. And at that point, if the audit, and we anticipate that there should be no problem, once the audit is finalized, MSBA will recommend for reimbursement. So it was a very productive meeting. They left us with even more homework in terms of putting together documents over the next week or 2 that we would send to MSBA. One of the questions that was raised actually to Greg Delaconis was around the current status of the financing of the Bachelor project in North Reading. And of course, it's being financed on the short-term notes or bands. The timeline is coming up when some of those need to be converted to longer-term debt. And so that was shared with the MSBA to point out that from a financing standpoint, no one really wants to incur the long-term debt. And so the sooner we can get this done, then I think both Reading and ultimately the state would have its financial interests met.
Just to add, they really didn't give us a timeline of when we can expect a decision, but I sensed, and I don't know if David sensed, that it would be, this is a fairly accelerated process. The other thing is, I believe we have about 11.3 million or 4 million that's already been bonded, and there's something like 7.2 million that's still in the short-term bands. They also commented that regardless of whether we had to go out and get permanent bonding, that if it's decided that we would get money, it would be, they would still give us a lump sum check, even if we had bonded the entire project. So that was what they told us. Just one other point, and then I'll look for discussion. I wish Mr. Venezia had been there when I believe it's the chief engineer that you're referring to, who said that he felt that the middle school was a beautiful school. Because we did get into discussion of the middle school and the high school, and I just got, because I was going on with me, he said, that's a beautiful school.
Especially from the outside.
So, I do think, you know, and I do think we need to get that meeting scheduled with the building committee, because Dr. Trout and I, and maybe we're reading things into this that aren't there, we're getting some signals on our secondary project ideas that we might want to discuss with the building committee, I believe, the secondary building committee, just to make sure that we're all on the same page as to where this is going. So I just wanted to bring that up. Subtle signals, I guess, is what I would, the way I would qualify them. So.
Those kind of comments, they're misleading, because our buildings and grounds staff is not gonna let them look rundown, and.
No, but what he said was it's a beautiful school for the schools that were built during that time frame. And then he added to me later after the meeting, it's a perfect school to expand and renovate. That's what he said to me.
The backs before
He
we
went to-
renovated.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to raise that, because I heard that and I was kind of amazed. I said I look at that building but that's just one man's opinion.
That's because you look at it at programming
Right.
and fuel efficiency
Right.
and investment into the shell.
Exactly.
As opposed to replacing it.
But actually, in terms of fuel efficiency or programmatic spaces, it's a much better building than the high school.
Than the high school.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
You know, I'm not surprised that an engineer would say
Yeah.
that, because we've had two sets of architects
Right.
who basically said the same thing.
Right. That's exactly what he said. He said the high school is, you know, got a lot of issues. So, does anybody have any comments on the batch funding? Obviously, we're moving forward. As Dr. Troughton said, there's a lot more homework to be done, and then we'll get to this phase, and then they'll audit the financial information. So hopefully we'll, you know, hear something by the end of this year. Hope.
Sounds like it's certainly possible.
Right. Okay, next we have a series of ongoing reports on the fiscal 08 program and staffing impact as a result of our budget shortfall. Dr. Troughton, I think we're going to address fine arts tonight.
Yes, we actually talked about the impact of reductions in this year's budget on music and art in the previous meeting, but I want to focus my brief discussions about the loss of the choral program and the instrumental music program at the elementary and middle school level. Last week, I met with some parents who are members of the Music Boosters, and we talked at length about the grave concern and the long-term or even an intermediate impact of losing a choral program at the elementary and middle level. Building the capacity right from the start for students to have experiences in performance, either from a choral standpoint or from an instrumental standpoint, sets the foundation for future learning, both in middle school and ultimately in the high school. And as the committee is aware, This year, we do not have adequate staff we barely have adequate staff to provide a fundamental instructional music program 1 day a week in the elementary school and in grades 6 and 7 in the middle school. We have dropped all choral programs. We have dropped all band programs. In the past, the middle school students starting in the 6th grade were able to take chorus as a class, and 6th graders were able to participate in the so-called cadet band, and 7th and 8th graders were able to participate in the junior band. That's gone. And so we're going to see the immediate effects of that next year when we graduate seniors, and we will not be replacing them with students who have had experience in performance. And so one can easily see that in a period of 1, 2, or 3 years, we're going to deplete both the high school instrumental program and the choral program. And that is a significant loss. It's a loss directly to students because the ability to, or the opportunity to be part of the performance, be part of the group, is not only an enriching experience, but it is a lifelong learning experience for many students, for most students who participate in these programs. And if we were fortunate to be able to replace those programs, to reinstate them in either next year or in future years, one can see how that it would take many years to build up that program. We have this year tried to put some level of a stopgap measure in at the elementary level by offering instrumental music lessons to 4th and 5th graders after school, but for a fee. Whereas in the past, we felt very strongly that in order to introduce students to the whole world of learning to play an instrument, that was part of the 4th and 5th grade experience, and it was scheduled and staffed during the day. But now, students can elect to take a 10-week session after school, and there's a fee. These are small groups, and we'll be repeating that in a second 10-week session starting probably the end of this month or either early February through the spring. So there was some discussion at the Music Boosters of whether or not we could, on a 1-year basis, look for some outside money to fund an after-school ensemble for students to be able to take what they learn and to come together, trumpets and clarinets and all the different band instruments, to be able to perform for their parents and anyone who would want to attend. But that would be purely done as an activity, and it would require outside funding, either through donations or fundraising, or perhaps looking for a grant. And again, just from the time standpoint of even trying to organize that fundraising, we don't have the capacity to do that. The middle school, again, if we could offer an after-school program, we would look to do that, but it is now, again, creating huge holes in our music program. So I raise it just as a way of sharing another impact in terms of the FYOA budget, and is part of the discussion as we look toward next year. But I also want to share, again, some of the comments, some of the reactions from the Music Boosters, who have over the years tirelessly supported